We start in Dilijan, a medium-sized town in the north of the country, straddling a river valley. Unfortunately, the weather isn't great, but that doesn't mean I can't show you around a bit. The centre of the town is marked by Peace Square, which is called that because it's a circle. The rest of the town is roughly divided into two parts by geography. The river has paths along its length here, and it's easy to imagine how nice the area must look in summer, but it's really hot in summer, so I'm here in March instead, which means the river looks like this. Something that struck me about Dilijang is how much of the rest of the country's architecture is visible in one place. We have the one modern building in a 10-mile radius that's way better than anything nearby and also looks like it could have been built anywhere else. Copy-paste commie blocks that have all been painted the same colour. A plaster plus wood plus stone construction that looks like it has just been ripped out of the Georgian mountains. Luxury houses, which is really weird considering the destitution of much of the country. Yerevan inspired. An old Soviet-style building that's been partially renovated. Gyumri inspired. As you could probably tell from the surrounding area, Dilijan acts as a centre point for a number of hiking trails in the local area, but I don't feel like walking quite so far today, and it is, of course, raining. Before the weather gets here, there's one more thing I want to show you, the Dilijan Old Town, which is more like one street than a whole town, but it's still very cool and it gives a good idea of what the area would have looked like in the past. It's also actually inhabited, it's not a display or a museum or something like that, and if you're interested in actually experiencing things, rather than just running around taking pictures like a maniac, then this is a good place for it. Welcome to Gyumri, or more specifically, Vardanat Square. There's usually lots of traffic around here, but I'm filming this really early in the morning. Unfortunately, the weather is still kind of bad, but, dear viewer, it gets better in just a few seconds, and that is a good thing because I absolutely adore this town and would like to show you a little bit of why. Vardanat Square has Armenian national icons on all sides. The Gyumri Town Hall, St. Yotverk Monastery, I took this picture during a brief hail shower, St. Amanapakich Monastery, and Ararat Brandy. The first time that I visited Gyumri, I had just come from Yerevan, the capital, and something that really surprised me is how much less traffic there is here. There's so little traffic that it's perfectly pleasant to just walk around here for hours and hours, and you won't go deaf while you're doing it. Gyumri also has several pedestrian-only streets, and this one in particular was a great place to watch the sun go down and listen to some guy playing the accordion. A little bit further away is Ankakhutyan Square, and as you'll soon notice, Gyumri really likes placing public squares in the centre of roundabouts. Something you will definitely notice if you wander around here for long enough is the colour of the buildings. Black, 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 black and orange, black. This isn't a coincidence, it's a result of the local geology, and it has earned the city the nickname, the Black City. Something else that's orange is the train station, which, although not as impressive as Yerevan's, is still a significant local landmark. The size of the station today is mostly due to history. Gyumri used to be about twice the size until much of it was destroyed in the 1988 Spitak earthquake. In addition, during the Soviet period, this area was the most important railway junction in Armenia. However, that changed in 1993 when the First Nagorno-Karabakh War started, the border with Turkey closed, and therefore the railway line west to Kars was abandoned. Today, the area is relatively sedate in railway terms. There's 3 local trains to Yerevan a day, and the night train to Tbilisi every other day. There's another park in a roundabout here, but this one has a display train which you can walk around and look at, and also this statue of some guy. All over Gyumri there are many stone monuments. Some are large, some are small, and I don't really know what they're for, but I do know they come in a variety of designs and they're also absolutely everywhere, so if you ever come visit, see how many you can find. Something else that Gyumri has a lot of is urban parkland, but I'm here in March where most of the plant life is dead, so I'm not going to focus a tremendous amount on any particular park with the exception of the one round the back of St. Amanapakich Monastery. That in the foreground is a monument to victims of the Spitak earthquake. If you face the monastery from Vardanat Square and look down the left-hand side, you will find this park, which doesn't seem to have a name as far as I can tell, but it's very clearly well looked after as most of the plants aren't dead. In fact, this is a relatively new park. A year and a half ago when I was here last, it was still under construction as you can see in this shot. This end of the boulevard is looking a bit worse for wear, and the other end of the boulevard, which you can't see, looked like someone had just bombed it. However, the park is now complete, and it's a great spot to sit down and hang about. The park is dominated by this huge water feature that has been turned off for the winter. While we're here, I'm going to introduce you quickly to this amazing building. The Holy Saviour's Church, also known as St. Amanaprkic Monastery, opened in 1873. It survived an earthquake in 1926. It was confiscated by the Soviet government in the 1930s. I don't know how you confiscate a building, but they did that. However, in the 1988 Spitak earthquake, it was more or less completely destroyed, and it took several decades to restore the building to its current state. The restoration works completed some time ago, and the building is once again an iconic part of the city's heritage. It is perhaps the most iconic building in the city. And the other thing I want to draw your attention to is the fact that both this and the church on the other side of Vardanat Square, St. Jotberg Monastery, have church bells that sound awesome. Moving on now to Central Park, which is called that because it isn't in the centre. You can find more dead looking trees and shrubs and things, so I'm not going to dwell on it. However, I do recommend this place as a starting point for your self-guided Gyumri walking tour, as there's plenty of great examples of Gyumri style buildings in the area, and there's also the park and a shawarma shop. I mean, just look at this one. Could you imagine this building in, I don't know, Sunderland? The last thing I want to show you is at the very western edge of the city, at the limit of the built-up area, where you can find a great big hill, and on top of the hill you can find an enormous statue called Mother Armenia. There's a similar one in Yerevan and a Mother Georgia statue in Tbilisi. The Sev Baird Fortress, also known as Black Fortress, but it was closed when I tried to visit it. And this view. It's time to leave Gyumri now, and out of the 3 trains a day to Yerevan, 2 are operated by modern Russian trains, but 1 is operated by an old Soviet design originating in Latvia in 1962, so of course I chose to ride that one. I got to the station early in order to take pictures, but the conductor saw me and told me not to, so unfortunately I don't have very many pictures of the train. But the conductor also suggested I don't take pictures out the window, but I completely ignored this because how can you not when the scenery looks like this? Welcome to Yerevan. This is the train station, in front of which is a statue of Sasuntsi David, or David of Sassoon, the protagonist of an Armenian epic poem. The metro connection to the station also has the same name. Before I show you around, I want to go on a quick tangent to tell you about the nightmare that is public transport in Armenia in general and Yerevan in particular. Firstly, you cannot buy a ticket online. At all. Maybe you can, but I couldn't find out how. If you want to buy one in person, you must first go and find a machine like this one. These are multifunction machines found all over the country with which Armenians can pay bills, deposit cash to a bank account, etc., whatever. But you can't use any machine. You must use a Telcel one, which looks like this, specifically the ones you find at a metro station because the ones in the street probably won't work. Once you've changed the language to English, you'll find 4 options. Use a contactless card at the ticket barrier, buy a paper ticket, buy a QR code ticket for your Telcel account, or buy a transport card. The ticket barriers don't accept foreign cards, so that's immediately not an option. If you select buy a paper ticket, the machine will helpfully inform you that paper tickets are no longer sold. Wow, so helpful. If you select buy a transport card, the device will prompt you to enter a phone number, except it won't accept any non-Armenian phone numbers. And if you select the QR code ticket option, it will prompt you to input your Telcel account details. If you download the Telcel app to try and get an account, you will find that it won't work without an Armenian bank account, and to get an Armenian bank account, you guessed it, you need an Armenian phone number. You go back to the metro station to attempt to speak to a person, where you find a metro staff member helping people get a transport card by just putting random numbers in the machine when prompted for a phone number. You think, I can do that, so you select buy a transport card again, and just put in the number 8 over and over again, and suddenly the machine works. So once you find that out, you can buy a transport card. Success! You can top it up with a single trip ticket for 150 drams, 3 trip ticket for 300 drams, or an all-day ticket for 900 drams. But wait! The machine doesn't give change and doesn't like your foreign bank card, so you have to pay with cash. Good luck making exactly 150, 300 and 900 drams out of your collection of 50, 100, 200 and 500 dram coins. One police station visits later, and this is the Kievian Bridge over the Hrazdan River. The river cuts a deep gorge through the city, resulting in views rather unlike other cities on rivers around the world. It's the end of the day, and the weather is bad, but that means I get to see a before and after of one of Yerevan's iconic views. This structure, which looks like a discount version of the Cascade Complex, can be found at the western end of the Kievian Bridge. It leads up to the Karandemir Sport Complex as well as Tsitsanaka Bird Park. From here, it is really apparent how much construction has been going on. None of this was here the last time I visited. Mount Ararat is in those clouds, somewhere. The next day, Tsitsanaka Bird Park is clearly visible and much more inviting, and there's a great view of Greater and Lesser Ararat way off in the distance. And it is even more obvious how much new construction is going on when viewed from the stairs. In the interest of not doing the exact same things in the exact same order as last time, this is Khachkar Park, located right next to Republic Square metro station. That in the background is the Armenian History Museum, and this chap is Garagin Jday, a statesman and revolutionary involved with the First Armenian Republic. At the other end of the park is some sort of bourgeois handcraft souvenir goods market, if you haven't bought any souvenirs yet. Crossing Khanjan Street you will find Circular Park, and this chap is Vardan Mamikonyan, a 5th century military leader and saint in Armenian Christianity. Circular Park forms half of the edge of central Yerevan, though you can see that the street pattern continues a bit further than the actual park. It is one of 2 significant areas of parkland near the city centre, and I will show you what's here from south to north, though we will come back to that in a bit. Although a park, there are lots of other things located within, such as restaurants, cafes, water fountains, and so on, as well as public spaces. These are great places to stop and relax without too much traffic noise. Walking around here, you may start to notice that urban Armenia has some kind of obsession with statues and water fountains, most of which are turned off for the winter. There are also some pretty cool buildings to look at here, and in the whole city in general really. This one is the Yerevan State University, and this one is the National Centre of Chamber Music, so some sort of orchestra. At the other end of the park is Yeritasadarkan Park, with Yeritasadarkan metro station, Avetik Isahakyan, an Armenian poet, and this underground high-end shopping centre. These were always common round here, and in Tbilisi as well, but a lot of the crappier ones have been modernised since I was here last. This is a good time to show how in Armenia and Georgia, park benches often have the name of the city or town they are in as part of their design. One unreasonably busy road crossing later and you will find Freedom Square and the Armenian National Opera and Ballet Theatre. You can go inside, though I'm not going to. It's one of the most iconic buildings in this city and also near Circular Park, the Northern Avenue pedestrianised area and a number of smaller parks. The area also has a selection of cafes and similar establishments, though as far as I can tell they only open in the evening. This might make a good place to end a Yerevan walking tour. Also nearby is this. This is the Cascade Complex. If you have heard of any Armenian building before, this is it. Do a Google search for Yerevan right now and I guarantee it will be one of the top images. Look how cool this is. The photos do not do it justice at all, and I'm so glad the weather is this good too. Shall we go up it? As predicted, the views from the top are pretty crazy. If you keep climbing the steep slopes from the top of the Cascade Complex, you will find a memorial with a viewpoint. And if you keep going to Victory Park, you will find an interesting exhibit consisting of another Mother Armenia statue in the centre, surrounded by various pieces of old military equipment. There's also more new build, and dinosaurs, for some reason. Heading closer to the city centre again, and this is St. Gregory the Illuminator Cathedral. It's located at the southern end of Circular Park, the bit I said earlier we would get back to, so we will come back to that in a bit. So long as you're respectful, anyone can go inside. The cathedral is noteworthy as the largest Armenian apostolic cathedral in the world and how it dominates the surrounding area with its high up location and grand appearance. Considering the name of the place, it also looks excellent at night. Yerevan also hosts a mosque, perhaps surprising considering how dominant Christianity is in the country. It was built in the 18th century when the area was controlled by the Shia Islam Iranian Empire, and there used to be many more, but it is now the only mosque in Armenia. Like other religious buildings such as St. Amanapakich Monastery in Gyumri, the building was secularized during the Soviet period but returned to being a mosque after independence with assistance from the Iranian government. There are also some small displays of Iranian artifacts and history in the courtyard. The centre of the city is located at Republic Square. Here you can find the History Museum of Armenia and the National Gallery of Armenia, both located in the same building, a posh hotel for rich wankers, whatever this is, and the Armenian Parliament building, which it is illegal to take photos of. Oh shit. And all this, as the name suggests, has a public square in the middle, perfect to sit in and watch the world go by, provided you don't mind the traffic. This is the Yerevan History Museum, not to be confused with the History Museum of Armenia. It's located a bit further out at the other end of the big park next to Republic Square. This museum focuses on the history of the Yerevan area specifically, founded as a city over 2,800 years ago in 782 BC, but settled since at least 3300 BC. The museum also has a map of old Yerevan as part of its exterior. Right next door is a wine factory, which does tours apparently. Ararat brandy is well known in Armenia and abroad somewhat. Famously, it was Churchill's favourite after he was given some by Stalin at the Yalta Conference during World War II. There's even an entire museum of Ararat brandy right across the river from here. Again, if you walk around here long enough, you may see a pattern. It doesn't show on the camera very well, but lots of buildings here are remarkably pink, hence the nickname the Pink City, a nice contrast to Gyumri, the Black City. As the sun starts to go down, the Northern Avenue pedestrianised area is a great place to be. Without cars, the area is alive with things to see. That there is a steakhouse, and there's also this guy doing whatever this is. Better though is the park down the middle of the boulevard running from the Yerevan History Museum to Republic Square. Look, there it is. This park is split into two. The fountains in this bit, 2800th Anniversary Park, have been turned off for the winter, but once you walk past this monument, the other half, Vardanyan Park, is much more lively. Having been given to the city by the Vardanyan Family Foundation for the 2800th anniversary of the founding of Yerevan, it is very well maintained and has these lovely water fountains that run all year round after dark and are quite lovely to look at. Yerevan after dark feels like an entirely different place and is quite spectacular. It is not possible to visit this country knowing about this place without visiting this place. This is the Armenian Genocide Memorial. It is the official position of the Turkish government that the Armenian genocide never happened, except it did, and it is obvious from visiting this country that the events of 1915 still hold significant weight over the land and its people. This is partly shown by the fact that what is common across the rest of the Soviet Union has not happened here. The eternal flame is still burning. Despite Armenia's many economic and political problems, especially post-independence, the gas bill for the memorial has always been paid. If you ever come here, which you absolutely should, there is also a museum, but it unfortunately has very restricted opening hours, so I've not had a chance to visit it myself. Most of the best views of the city can also be found up here too, and the city noise is also greatly reduced. The park is a very calm, quiet and well-maintained place to sit and think for a bit. I've just driven to a place called Jermuk in the far northeast of Vyaztov province. If you look at pictures of the place in summer, you might get some understanding of what usually goes on here. Nature, resorts, more resorts, chairlifts, waterfalls, scenery. But it's winter now, so instead I'm greeted by this. However, the region is also a bit of a winter tourism destination as well, though not as much. With a number of hot springs and thermal baths, the region has been a holiday destination for centuries, with a number of development plans building sanatoriums and health resorts during the Soviet period in particular. Basically, this place grew as a hippie, wellness, relaxation, nature spot except communist. This legacy continues today, with a number of resorts, hotels and similar buildings empty during winter but still clearly in use. During winter, the town is much sleepier but still retains something of a charm. The snow is so deep you can be buried in it vertically, and typical Armenian building styles are on display, surrounded by a steep-sided river gorge and mountains up close. Despite having a population of a couple thousand people, the main part of the town where people actually live can be explored and circumnavigated in only a couple of minutes. Most of the rest of the town is those aforementioned spas and wellness resorts. Heading towards them, you can find Yotnachbur Lake. It looks like the ducks have chosen to be here rather than in the frigid mountain air. This is the natural centre of the town, though you won't know it looking around because the trees make most of the town impossible to see from here. There are also log cabins to rent here and a chairlift to take you over the Arpa River Gorge and up to a restaurant on the hill. But people don't visit for the town really, they visit for the numerous hiking routes, castles and whatnot in the surrounding area, though I won't because it's -2 degrees outside. The Arpa River Gorge itself is huge and picturesque in all weathers. There's also a church here too, because of course there is. Now onward before the thunder arrives. Sunset was soon after that, and it got too dark to take good pictures. Sorry. Welcome to Goris, what I'm calling the best small town in Armenia. It's located on the south side of the mountains that separate Siunik from the rest of the country. You will notice lots of military personnel as you explore, as this town is unfortunately located only 5 kilometers away from the border with So think before you take a photo. I also left my camera behind and used my phone for this bit instead, to be less conspicuous. Goris has these roadside things in a few places, mostly in bench form. I have no idea why on earth they look like this. I can only assume it's some sort of art installation. Something else instantly noticeable about this place, and why I love it so much, is that it has a character quite unlike the rest of Armenia's small towns. Firstly, a unique visual appeal with stony buildings with this Swiss cheese sort of pattern. I've only seen anything similar in Mestia, in Svaneti, Georgia. Both towns have those mountain town vibes. And secondly, because it is so clearly better looked after than many other places. Yes, Goris also has the derelict, half-abandoned, poverty-stricken areas that the rest of rural Armenia's small towns exhibit, but it represents a much smaller proportion of Goris than other towns, so the good bit is much larger and lovelier. See this separated walking path. It looks quite new, with a comparatively fancy brick pattern, a grass verge, and a water channel separating it from the road rather than a curb. When the snowcaps melt, I imagine that a lot of these channels will have water in them. I did find some, but many were dry on the day I was there. Here's another one with more established planting going on in the grass strip. It's not just one street like this. And here's one with flowing water. I wonder if there would be fish in here if the water level was higher. The town also has a knockoff version of the Cascade Complex in Yerevan. I'm sure you will agree that they are almost impossible to tell apart. Goris is at the bottom of a river valley. The result is that the local mountains tower over the town and are clearly visible regardless of where you are. The town's proximity to nature provides good views as mentioned, but also makes it a good base for local hikes. And here is the town centre. My hotel is this building on the left. The similarities with Mestia are even stronger here in a few places. They're not quaint cobblestone streets, but they are brick, and that's close enough. It's quite incredible just being here. There's lots of lovely trees and nature, and the built environment is beautiful too. I think part of why is that Siunik is consistently warmer than the rest of the country, so it doesn't feel very wintry here at the moment. The centre of the town also hosts a park, Grigor Tatavasy Square. I'm going to shut up now and show you the town for a bit. I've just realised that I might be able to do a travel montage after all if I set up the tripod on the back seat of the car, so I'm going to do that and let's see how it goes. Behind those trees is the village of Aragats in Aragatsotn province, and behind the village is Mount Aragats, somewhat visible in the clouds. This area in general is really cool actually. Climbing Mount Aragats, the highest mountain in the country, was supposed to be the last big part of this trip, but coming in March means that the only road going anywhere near the base station at Curry Lake is completely snowed in. If only there was some way to give this trip the ending it deserves by coming in March to do most of the filming when the temperature is actually habitable, then coming back in July to climb the mountain. Wouldn't that be cool? Well, that's the end of the Armenia episode. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you don't know where to go for your next holiday, come to Armenia, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.